And when you hear Axelrod coming out and attacking Joe Biden, that's someone who's very close to former President Barack Obama, a very powerful person in Democratic orbit, someone who, unlike previous presidents, at least recently, hasn't left Washington, D.C., still has an outsized kind of outsized influence on this administration. So when you hear criticism coming from Axelrod, that's coming from pretty close to the centers of Democratic power. And then you see the administration kind of leaking to Politico magazine that their plan is to simply do a Rose Garden campaign. And that's not something that's really going to energize voters. It does give Biden that sense of respectability, which is how he won the last election. But it's not going to energize voters when he's flagging. And it's kind of wild. I was shocked to see that he was behind with some of the young voters. The youth have been going further and further to the left. But I do think there's a bit of a counterculture coming back on that. I mean, if you look at, just for example, the top comedians now, Shane Gillis, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, I wouldn't call them Republican voters, but they're, at least most of them, but they're constantly making fun of this liberal hegemony, this liberal culture, this Democrat kind of rule, and that seems to finally be shown in the polls.
And then Bill Maher said this the other day. Listen here.
Do I think Joe Biden can do the job? Absolutely.
Yes.
I don't think he can win the job. And that's what I care about. He's going to lose because the people think he's too old. And perception is reality. I'm sorry.
Juan?
Well, I mean, the thing about those young voters is most of them are Democrats. They lean Democrat heavily, had voted Democrat in the past.
And they're 60 years younger than the president.
But my bet is they come back when you have a choice between Trump and abortion, and Trump's talking about people who are his critics can't protest in public without trawling out the truth. Boy, you bet that the billions of dollars that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are going to spend in the next year is going to remind voters exactly what the choice is.
But, Chris, I don't think the danger would be that they'll get into the voting booth and say, you know, I'm going to pull the lever for Trump. It's that they would never go to the voting booth in the first place.
I would agree with that.
They'll stay home.
Yeah, you know, he's lost about a third of his support amongst young voters, Joe Biden has, over his handling of the Israel-Hamas war. And that puts them very much at odds with older Democratic voters who are much more pro-Israel. When you're looking at this, it's not what he needs to generate is that anti-Trump fervor and that pro-Joe Biden fervor that makes people vote. Just like with Republicans, if the evangelicals stay home, you're in trouble. And if you're Joe Biden and you lose the Muslim vote in Michigan, they're not going to vote for Republicans, but they might not vote for Biden. And you use the youth, you're in trouble.
Of course, the idea of voting on Election Day is quaint these days. And Democrats do a very good job of getting those mail-in ballots from younger voters. So we'll see how it goes. Got a long time to mull this over, don't we?
Yeah.
All right. Although the time is growing short very quickly. Sandra.
All right, John.